What happens when a rich, arrogant customer tries to silence a hard-working waitress? You won't believe how one bold response turns the tables, leaving everyone in the restaurant stunned, and the customer humiliated. The upscale restaurant buzzed with energy, the air rich with the scent of gourmet dishes and fine wine. Soft lighting highlighted the elegant decor, polished wood tables, sparkling crystal chandeliers, and a steady hum of conversation from the evening crowd. Waiters and waitresses moved quickly between the tables, navigating the labyrinth of guests with practiced grace. The restaurant had always been a place where people expected nothing short of perfection, and tonight was no different. Among the staff was Maria, a black woman in her late 20s. She had been working here for nearly 3 years. Known for her unwavering professionalism and warm demeanor, Maria carried herself with quiet confidence, always willing to go the extra mile to ensure that each guest had the best experience possible. Her smile was genuine, and her kindness, while often taken for granted, was what made her beloved by both the regulars and her coworkers. Tonight, Maria's shift was about to take an unexpected turn. At a corner table, a wealthy man sat with his companions. He was in his early 50s, wearing a tailored suit that screamed designer luxury. His demeanor was the epitome of arrogance, as if the world revolved around him. His eyes scanned the room, dismissing the staff as though they were beneath him. He had a reputation for belittling waitstaff, and Maria was about to feel the brunt of his entitled attitude. Maria approached the table with her usual calm, a soft smile on her lips as she greeted the man and his companions. She could feel the weight of his gaze, cold and assessing, as he took his time looking her up and down before speaking. Finally, someone who knows how to dress properly, he sneered, his words thinly veiled with condescension. I was starting to wonder if the help here even bothered to care about their uniforms. Maria's heart skipped a beat, but she didn't let it show. She simply nodded, her tone as polite as ever. Good evening, sir. How may I assist you today? He smirked, clearly enjoying the discomfort he'd caused. I'll have the lobster, but not the way it's usually made. I want it with a special sauce, one you don't even have on your menu, and make sure it's prepared just right, not like last time. His words dripped with entitlement. Maria felt a flush of heat creep up her neck, but she kept her composure. Of course, I'll let the chef know. Anything else I can get for you? He leaned back in his chair, staring down at her with a bored expression. Actually, yes. I'd appreciate it if you didn't keep me waiting so long this time. It's almost as if you're not paying attention. You've been here long enough to know how to do your job. The edge in his voice was sharp, aimed directly at her confidence. Maria's grip on her pad tightened, but she kept her voice steady. I'll make sure everything is perfect, sir. As Maria walked away from the table, the sting of the customer's words lingered like an unwelcome echo in her mind. Not like last time. It wasn't the first time he'd made her feel small, but tonight it felt sharper. She was used to rude comments, but the way he dismissed her as if she were invisible made her stomach twist. The other patrons were busy with their own conversations, but she could still hear the rich man's voice cutting through the air. He's always so slow, isn't he? He mocked, loud enough for her to catch the words. Can't even get a simple order right. I swear, I don't know why they hire people like her. She looks like she's barely out of high school. Maria's breath hitched, but she forced herself to keep walking, to focus on the task at hand. She had a job to do. She couldn't let him get to her. She reminded herself of why she worked here, of how hard she had fought to get this job, to earn the respect of her colleagues and the trust of the regulars. She was a professional, and she wouldn't let his attitude make her falter. But as the evening wore on, a familiar question crept into her mind. Should she continue to take this? Should she just walk away? Or should she stand up for herself? She fought the temptation to glance back, but her heart was racing. Every part of her wanted to challenge him, to silence him for good. But could she? Would it be worth it? The moment of truth arrived when Maria returned to the table, her tray balanced expertly in her hands. As she placed the lobster before the rich man, he shot her a contemptuous look, his eyes narrowing. You finally got it right, he sneered. Maybe next time you'll actually act like you know what you're doing, or are you too busy thinking about something else? Maria's heart pounded in her chest, but this time she didn't flinch. She paused for a moment. Collecting herself, she took a deep breath, standing tall, and met his gaze with unwavering confidence. "I'll have you know," she said, her voice calm but firm, "that I've been working in this industry for years. I've earned my place here, just like anyone else, and I don't need to be belittled to do my job." She leaned in slightly, ensuring her words would reach his ears, and everyone else in the restaurant. "You may have money, but that doesn't give you the right to treat people like they're less than you. I work hard, and I respect everyone around me, no matter who they are or what they do." The entire restaurant seemed to pause. The chatter died down, and heads turned in her direction. Even the other servers stopped what they were doing, watching with bated breath. The rich man blinked, his mouth slightly agape. He hadn't expected this. Maria didn't wait for his response. She turned and walked away, her head held high. The silence in the room was deafening. As Maria walked away, she could feel the weight of the room shift. The once lively buzz of the restaurant had dulled, replaced by murmurs and hushed conversations. Patrons exchanged glances, some nodding in quiet approval, while others stared in disbelief at the rich customer, who was still recovering from Maria's bold response. His face flushed with embarrassment, though he tried to regain control, sneering at his companions. He muttered something under his breath, but the words fell flat. Some of the regulars at nearby tables leaned in, whispering among themselves. A few offered Maria subtle, supportive smiles as she passed by. She felt a small spark of validation but didn't let it distract her from her duties. Her thoughts remained focused, on her job, on her self-respect. She couldn't afford to show weakness now. In the kitchen, several of her fellow servers had witnessed the exchange, and couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration. Whispers of Maria's bravery spread quickly among them, and there was a sense of camaraderie in the air, a newfound respect for their colleague. For once, it wasn't just the customers who were made to feel powerless, it was the entitled, arrogant man who was left stunned. As the evening wore on, the manager, having observed the scene from a distance, quietly approached Maria. Without saying a word, he placed a hand on her shoulder, giving it a brief, silent squeeze. A small but meaningful gesture of support. Later, he quietly commended her for handling the situation with such grace and dignity. It wasn't much, but it was enough. As the evening wore on, Maria remained calm and composed, going about her duties without letting the earlier confrontation affect her. The rich customer, now humiliated and clearly uncomfortable, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He attempted to finish his meal quickly, avoiding eye contact with anyone, especially Maria. When the bill was paid, he didn't even look her way as he gathered his things, eager to escape the scene. But as he made his way toward the exit, a few patrons glanced at Maria with nods of approval, their support unspoken but undeniable. Maria continued working, the quiet strength of her actions evident in every step she took. She didn't need to gloat or demand any special recognition. Her worth had been proven through her courage to stand up for herself, to challenge the idea that people like him could treat others as less than human. In that moment, Maria had reclaimed her power, not through arrogance or confrontation, but through grace, dignity, and a firm refusal to be silenced. As she walked by a table near the entrance, a few patrons began to quietly clap. At first it was a soft, almost hesitant sound, but as more people joined in, the applause grew stronger. Maria's face flushed with a mix of surprise and gratitude, but she didn't stop. She just kept walking, her head held high, knowing she had earned the respect of those around her. The room was filled with an unspoken sense of empowerment, a shared moment of triumph.